Good morning, good afternoon. This is Kevin Scally. I'm the Chief Relationship Officer at Charity Navigator. And today I am joined by two esteemed guests joining us from the Metropolitan Museum of Art. How are you today?
Great, thanks. How are you?
Doing good, thanks so much.
Wonderful, thanks for having us.
So I'm joined by Clyde Jones and Ken Wine from the Met. Clyde, if you can introduce yourself and tell us what you do at the Met, that would be fantastic.
Sure. Again, I'm Clyde Jones. I'm the Senior Vice President for Institutional Advancement at the Met. And as such, I'm responsible for development, membership, and special events. I've been at the museum for about 5 years.
Great. And I'm Ken Wine. I'm the Vice President of External Affairs and Chief Communications Officer. So that spans media relations and marketing and social media and all the ways we reach our wide audiences.
Fantastic, thank you for that. So Charity Navigator has been hosting this series on innovation and adaptation, in that we know that the nonprofits that we work with that are featured on Charity Navigator have been greatly impacted by the pandemic. We've spoken with a number of direct service organizations and wanted to connect with you all, in that we know that museums, zoos, organizations that really depend on people in person have been impacted in a very different kind of way. Before we delve into that, it would be interesting to hear a little bit about the history of the museum, as that I know that you are approaching a milestone.
Sure. Well, we've actually approached our milestone, and we passed by. On April 13th of this year, we celebrated the 150th anniversary of the Met. In 1870, when the museum was created, we were in fact, we had no building, we had no art, we had just an idea. And over the course of those 150 years, many thousands of very generous individuals have helped us build a collection, whether that's through the gifts of art, or through the gifts of money to help us purchase art, to create our building, which is our main building on Fifth Avenue in Manhattan, is over 2 million square feet. We are arguably the largest, or one of the largest museums in the world, and depends on who you ask whether we're bigger than the Louvre or not, or the Hermitage, but we're all about, we're big, all of us. And the Met, in addition, has the Cloisters, which is at the tip of Manhattan, and until July of this year, we also had a third location on Madison Avenue, the Met Breuer, but we have since closed that space. So yes, and we have a full program of exhibitions, permanent collection, education programming, scholarship, the gamut. We are a very busy place. Ken, did I miss anything?
Well, no, just to give, I think this audience would appreciate the year that we faced, that Clyde and team for, I don't know, 2 or 3 years has been planning our 150th anniversary. And sure enough, we would never have known that we would be closed for a pandemic during the actual anniversary day of April 13, and many other activities we had planned for the months ahead. But you catch us on a good week. The Met has never been closed for longer than 3 days in our history. It's now over 5 months, but we will be reopening for members Thursday and Friday, and for the general public this Saturday.
Amazing. So let's talk about the past 5 months and how that has been kind of programmatically and then also financially. What are some of the shifts that the organization has made to still be able to give people a cultural experience through the Met in the time of its closure?
Sure. So one of the things that has been very important to us over the past number of years is the online audience for our offerings. And when we couldn't be available to people in person, then we ramped up the digital collection, the access to the collection through digital means. And the program that we've had, whether it's for members or whether it's for general lectures, education programs, we've had to really turn our attention to that. We have a very robust digital presence on so many platforms, and that's the shift that we've had to make. From a fundraising perspective, we've been able to reach out to those individuals, corporations, and foundations who have been so generous to us, and like so many other not-for-profit organizations, make the case as to why special funds to help us make it through these months were necessary. And we've had some great success in that regard, which is not to say that we haven't had to make some very big decisions. We've had to lay off staff, we've had to furlough others, and really change the way people interact with the museum, whether it's our staff or our visitors.
Sure. And I think that that's an important thing, is that Charity Navigator has been surveying the nonprofits that we rate, and have done so is to get a finger on the pulse of how other nonprofits are being affected, and have found consistently that nonprofits are essentially being asked to do more with less. And for organizations like yourself, is that the traffic through the door obviously wasn't an option for the past couple of months. You've had to make some hard decisions to be able to continue to survive. But it is heartening to hear that donors are responsive and want to not have the organization just continue to survive, but also thrive throughout this time. Clyde, are there any stories of donors who really stepped up over the past couple of months that immediately come to mind, that it was a bit of a wake-up call to know that the museum was threatened, and that they were able to financially contribute and make sure that the organization continued?
Absolutely. One of the most heartwarming stories is that we've been in conversation with a woman by the name of Adrienne Arsht for the past months about a gift to the museum. And not only with the pandemic, but also with all of the sort of the social justice conversation that has been so important to our country, she took this moment to make quite a substantial contribution to the museum that allowed us to make all of our undergraduate and graduate internship programs paid. So for the first time in our history, all of our undergraduate and graduate interns will have a salary. And she did that as a result of what's going on in our museum and what's going on in the world. And we have any number of other stories like that where people really have stepped up quite generously, but we couldn't be more grateful to Adrienne for her support.
And I just to fill that out, as Clyde mentioned, we have gifts from our trustees immediately after the pandemic struck. Clyde's team reached out to create an emergency fund. It raised over $25 million from our trustees, and we're very aware that the Met, we are an everlasting institution. We will be around for hundreds more years, but that so many smaller institutions don't have this luxury, and what a tremendous challenge this is for the cultural field, the pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely. And appreciate the insight too in sharing some of the hard decisions that you've had to make. To put that into comparison to the organizations that we've surveyed, we found that 72% of nonprofits are reporting that they're suffering financially due to the pandemic, and 69% have had to reduce staff. So, it is definitely a reality that nonprofits are having to face. And I'm sure that the team is very excited for the reopening. So I guess to pivot a little bit, Ken, what does the reopening look like, and what are some of the changes that you're making to accommodate the state of the world?
Sure. So we are obviously working with state, city, and CDC guidelines, and those are the main ones are everyone be wearing masks, both staff and the public. We are able to have 25% of our regular capacity, and we have today, this very day, we're installing 800 signs across the museum, various directional signs, 2 people in an elevator, but we did have a decision to make. We could have opened in a modest way, but ends up the Met doesn't do many things modestly. So we're doing the whole thing. It's 2 million square feet of the museum. We are, Clyde, I'm the comms guy, so I will say we are a smidgen larger than our friends. The largest art museum in the world. So it will be, we have 3 major exhibitions opening. The signature exhibition of the anniversary is called Making the Met, which was supposed to open a week at the end of March. We have a fabulous roof garden commission, and we have a Jacob Lawrence exhibition. So all opening, 2 million square feet. Last thing I'll say is what will be very different is how we're serving our audience, which is that the amazing thing about the Met is we've gone from 4 to 7 million visitors over the past dozen years. Most of that growth has been from tourism, as New York has become such a thriving international capital. Tourists, 70% of our visitors were tourists. When we reopen, almost none of that will be there. So we will be serving New York City, and it's really, it's obviously it's a crisis, but it's an opportunity for us to serve the city and the 5 boroughs. Core to our mission is serving the city. We don't own this building. We sit on city land in Central Park, and this will be a new way to realize that.
And I think that what's important to mention also is that the experience that people will have when they do come to the museum now will be markedly different than it was before. Since we can only have 25% of capacity, the experience in the galleries will be very, very personal in a way that it wasn't before. So I encourage everyone to take advantage of this opportunity before the 7 million people come back to experience your own version of the Met without so many people around you.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to think about it. It's almost a VIP experience for those in the 5 boroughs to have a really intimate view of the Met. It's an interesting way to look at it, and I think will definitely be embraced by the community. Now, I know that you had mentioned your annual gala, and that had to that you were unable to host that. What are the future plans for that?
Well, so there are a couple of big events that we do every year. Of course, there's the Costume Institute Gala, which is always the first Monday in May, and that had to be canceled for this year. You know, we plan to do that again. We also had a big gala that was scheduled for June of this year to celebrate the 150th anniversary. That too has been rescheduled to next year. We are looking carefully at what the regulations will be around how many people can gather together, when we can actually do those kinds of events. We take our cues from the governor, from the city, and as soon as we're able to, we'll announce what's happening for both the Costume Institute Gala as well as for the 150th anniversary gala, along with all of the other events that we do during the course of the year.
Great. And as far as some of the changes that you've made programmatically to switching more digital, how do you see that the move to digital over the past couple months will influence the way that you are offering programs moving forward, as well as maybe some of the events that you're typically handling in person?
I'll try that a little bit, which is, you know, it's important to us in all institutions to have digital channels. Pre-pandemic, we have over 1.2 million on our email database, and we reach via social media over 10 million people. I think what we've learned from this is the importance of nurturing that relationship, and we now want to move to, you know, take that strength of what we've built before the pandemic, and we kind of learned how to put even more programming through those pipelines these 5-6 months that we've been out of the building. Now, how can we blend those two experiences going further? As well, when one comes back to the building, for a while, we will have no print materials. I've always been a bit of a skeptic about QR codes, but been going to restaurants a little bit these past few weeks, and QR codes are there in replace of menus, and we too will have QR codes in the Great Hall. We're not going to give out maps. We're not going to give out exhibition listings. We're going to have a QR code to send you to our website. So that blended experience, I think people will see both on-site and digitally, off-site.
That's great. And then, Clyde, from a fundraising perspective, is there a move to be more digitally centric at this point?
You know, there always is, you know, because it's so much less expensive than printed direct mail. But in the recent past, it hasn't been as successful as traditional forms of fundraising, but we'll explore that as we can. We're seeing an increased usage of online giving, whether it's for direct gifts, certainly for event registrations. We're seeing people becoming much more comfortable. And frankly, these past 5 months have given everyone a different perspective on the use of technology for doing business. Who would imagine 6 months ago that everybody would embrace video conferences as much as we had? So it's my hope that people will also embrace digital giving, online giving, much more fully in the future. And those organizations who can learn how to properly embrace that technology will be the most successful ones in the future.
Absolutely. Well, I imagine that there are lots of people in New York that are very excited for this coming Saturday to be able to come back to the Met or visit for the first time. What are some of the other ways that folks, other than attendance, can get involved with the Met?
Well, certainly go to our website. Please look at our collection online. Use that collection. Everything is available to the public. All of our permanent collection is available, and there are great features on the special exhibitions that will be there. Both the Making the Met exhibition. The Hector Zamora is the artist who has made an installation on our roof garden. There'll be an amazing Jacob Lawrence exhibition that there are features online about that as well. Tomorrow night, we're having a great virtual event, free of charge, that will give people a little bit of a sense of what it was like in these past 5 months. We're talking to some of our essential workers, because at the cloisters there are amazing gardens that had cared for while we were closed. We'll have Roseanne Cash, who will be doing a piece based on one of the exhibitions that we have, the Anne Tenenbaum and Thomas Lee collection of photographs from the 20th century. So there are all sorts of ways that people can access the Met, be part of the Met, and join the Met's family without coming to our doors. But we hope you will come. Please come visit us.
Absolutely.
Good. Anything to add, Ken?
Oh, I mean, I got it. You know, look, it's the Met. You can go on the web and have a read aloud from our children's librarian on an art book. You can learn how to draw. You could, if your kid or you are going to college, go access, as Clyde said, we have 700,000 images, free high-res images. Print one out and put it on your dorm room if you're going to college. I say that because I'm taking 2 kids to college tomorrow. And really that open access, that collection, the creative ways people have used it are really inspiring. The last one is we have a mask competition of sorts where people can use our collection and turn it into a mask for when they safely visit their favorite museum.
Fantastic. Well, very good. I really appreciate both of you giving me insight into, and as well as our viewers, into what the pandemic has been like through the lens of a cultural institution. And congratulations on the upcoming reopening. And hope to visit the Met myself sometime soon. So thank you so much for your time today, and take care now.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Great.